Do you believe the Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown duo can still win a title together?
I do. I'm not, listen, Jaylen Brown is 26 years old. Jayson Tatum's 24, 25?
25.
You're not going to get me to look at two dudes, one averaging 30 in Tatum, another averaging 26 in Jaylen Brown at this age with 5 times they've been to a conference finals, went to an NBA finals last year. You're not going to get me to look at them as a finished product. These guys can still soar if they want to. To me, it's the want-to factor of Jaylen Brown that comes into play. Are you accepting and embracing of the fact that you ain't Jayson Tatum? You understand that that is our guy. That is the superstar on this team. We love you. We respect you. This is what you bring to the table. It's incredibly valuable. If he's 1, you're 1A. Are you good with that? Because if the answer is an emphatic yes and you're convincing of that, I have no problem with moving forward with those two. 0. The issue comes into play when Jaylen Brown is of the mindset, I deserve to be that dude, that number 1 option. I want to go elsewhere where I am the number 1 offensive option on the court. If that's something he's insistent upon, and that's not foreign to us, we've seen it happen in the game before. If that's something that's important to him, then I think you have to separate them. But only under those circumstances. Outside of that, considering their youth and their skill set and their accomplishments up to this point, they are knocking on the door. We can't definitively look at any team. That includes the Miami Heat who just beat them. That includes Milwaukee next year. That includes Philadelphia next year. We can't look at any team and definitively say they're better than the Boston Celtics and they would take them out next year and beyond with those two dudes on this squad if they're committed to playing together. But I would need that commitment in order to feel good about them staying together.
Yeah, I believe that they can win a championship together, and I'm not willing to sell all my stock in the Tatum-Brown duo. Look, there's a few things here. I do think this group potentially has reached its ceiling, and maybe it's time to look at other pieces, right? Okay. They have a bunch of tradable assets. Yeah. They have good players. Like, there's not a knock on their players. It's just how the pieces fit. It's how the pieces complement Tatum and Brown. I'd love to see them have another downhill guard. I'd love to see them have someone that could play more pick and roll with Jayson Tatum as the screener. So he's not having to do everything with the ball in his hands. And then he can play off of someone. I'd love to see a little more development offensively from Robert Williams. And I know at times it seems like, why are they not using him more? Why is he playing 20 minutes a game in the playoffs? I don't have the answer to that. So that's where I think that could maybe get them over the top. These two guys, you alluded to their age. Say it all the time. Steph, first championship at 27. LeBron, first championship at 27. Jordan, first championship at 28. Like, these guys haven't reached their prime and their peak yet. There's still room for them to even get better, particularly with Jaylen Brown and the decision-making. And the other thing is, like, Jayson Tatum, after Game 6, had a 30-point, 10-rebound, 5-assist game. 8th time this postseason. Tied LeBron James for the most 30, 10, and 5 games in a postseason run in NBA history. Okay. Like, he's an absolute star, an absolute superstar, an absolute one. He is a Batman, Stephen A. He's a Batman. Yeah. I think Jaylen Brown is also a great player. All NBA, all that stuff. The question is, though, Legs, the question is, are you comfortable with the new CBA paying 2 players $600 million over the course of their contract? No. Are you comfortable in 2 years, if you keep this group together, essentially being hamstrung to make transactions because they're at the second apron with the new CBA? That's the question that I think they have to ask. To your question about whether or not, I've never heard Jaylen Brown talk about it. And maybe there's something you know that I don't know. Right. I've never heard Jaylen Brown say, you know what, I want to go be the number 1 option.
In fairness to you and everybody else, neither have I.
Yes.
I'm talking, when I'm alluding to the numerous reports that have been out there, I have never asked him about it, and I've never heard him say that to me or anybody that I know, in fairness to you.
So for me, I also agree with both of you guys. Yes, I do think they can get it done together. Okay, you look at the winning window for players. Talk about guys' prime. That's about 27 to 32. Because when you get into that phase of your career, one, you've probably addressed some of your weaknesses. Hopefully, you've added stuff to your game, right? You continue to evolve as a player. Mm-hmm. You've gotten paid. some of the stuff that mattered to you when you first got into the league, right? You've done that stuff, man. I've been an all-star. I've been all-league. I've been whatever. I got my money. That stuff starts to become less important when you get into that window. Yeah, we had the same questions about Giannis Antetokounmpo. We did. Go back to the Toronto series, the year that they won the first 2 and lost 4 in a row. Trying to put 5 guys in the paint. What did Giannis do? He kept running guys over, getting himself in bad spots, offensive fouls, turning the ball over, couldn't pass off the dribble, couldn't make a 15-foot pull-up jump shot, much less a free throw if they hammered him. A lot of people had doubts if Giannis Antetokounmpo was going to add enough polish to his game to make an 18-foot jumper once in a while, to make free throws in a big moment. Remember what he did the biggest game of his career when he dropped a 50-piece, what he did from the line that night to close out the deal. So I think there is still more there for both players. The thing that I love about both of them, not just their age, they've won a lot of games together, man. They've been on the threshold, 5 conference finals to be this age and do that much together. But the most important component is this. They both compete. They play hard. They play hard on both ends of the floor. They don't always play great. Sometimes offensively, it's frustrating watching them, particularly last night watching Jaylen Brown. There's so much to like that you can't give up on 2 guys, I think, that have this age, that have won this much together. They just haven't broken through, but they're getting ready to enter that phase when it's more possible.
Fair enough.
Which team do you think's had the more impressive run to the finals? Is it the Heat or the Nuggets?
Yeah, for me, both of them are very impressive, but the Miami Heat. And it's because of conversations that I've been watching you guys have, and it's been tremendous listening to the variances and the nuances of basketball. But you got an 8th seed that's about to play in the finals, and I know this is not unconventional for the Miami Heat. Eric Spoelstra, obviously one of the best coaches of this generation. But I go back to a conversation you guys had in the show as I've been watching. Caleb Martin could have been in the conversation for being MVP of this Eastern Conference Finals series. And there was a lot of unsung players. We saw bad games by Jimmy. We saw a bad game by Jimmy in 6, and we saw Bam kind of fade away. And they've had guys step up in every situation. If it had not been for a white putback, they would be on rest right now. But when you look at Miami and where they've come from, and I listen, which I love to do, especially when it's NBA time. A lot of people had this Boston Celtics team pegged as the best team in the NBA throughout the course of the season. We talked about how tremendous they were doing. We knew the coaching change would cause some issues, and we've seen that take hold. But for Miami to be sitting here again, and remember, y'all, they were a shot away from being in the finals a year ago. So when you look at all of the things that have transpired with the Miami Heat up until this point, they're superstars. Jimmy Butler is their one, and he was off, and they were able to stay competitive and even be in a game and should have won it with him going to the free throw and burying 3. I just got to give a lot of credence to AC being in the finals, but more importantly, the players that have stepped up in roles who we thought were role players, undrafted, by the way, Caleb Martin, stepping up, and he has this team where they are right now. It's just more impressive to me.
I get you. I understand where you're coming from. I respectfully disagree because I think that the Denver Nuggets have been flying under the radar all season long, despite being the #1 seed in the Western Conference. When you look at Jokic and what he is doing right now, and his greatness cannot be denied. The man is slow as a snail, can't jump onto a curb, and nobody can stop him. Nobody can stop him. I mean, the touch, his shooting touch is just something special. I mean, his footwork is everything about this brother is just special. It's unbelievable to watch him. To watch Jamal Murray. Remember, Denver, last time we saw Denver in the postseason with Jamal Murray, they were in the Western Conference Finals in the bubble. He got that nasty injury, and then after that, he's been out the last couple of years. He's back. He's averaging over 27 a game in these playoffs. He's been absolutely sensational. I'm looking at a Michael Porter Jr. I'm looking at an Aaron Gordon. I'm looking at Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Bruce Brown giving you what they're giving you. Obviously, they handled their business against Minnesota. We saw what they did in the second round against Phoenix. They go to the conference finals. They sweep the Lakers, okay? They had two short games where the defense didn't show up against against Phoenix, I'm sorry. Outside of that, they handled their business. They did what they were supposed to do against Minnesota. I'm just looking at them right now, and I understand where you're coming from, but I'm just saying Jokic is something to behold. Murray is something to behold with taking notice of Mike Malone and what a great coach he is. I'm looking at them, and one could argue they did what they were supposed to do. I'm saying they did it. They still did it. I'm not going to take that away from them. They've been a dominant team in this postseason, and that's where I come up with they've been more impressive because they've handled their business in thorough fashion.
Stephen A., you just said that the Denver Nuggets have been flying under the radar all season long. To whom? To whom?
No. We've talked about this. Hold on. You are the one that went on national
flying under the radar.
JJ Redick, you are the one. I mean, we got the tape, brother. We keep receipts here. You came on TV weeks ago and you said, when are we going to talk about the Denver Nuggets? You said we don't talk about them enough. These are his words, Swagoo, not mine.
I'm just trying to figure out.
I was actually at home minding my business.
Are you acknowledging? Are you acknowledging that they're flying under the radar and some of that is your fault? Are you acknowledging that?
Never that. I wouldn't say that.
Ooh, it sounds like
Are you
it.
sure?
Ooh,
No,
it
not me.
sounded like it.
Not me.
It
I
sounded
mentioned
like
Jokic.
it.
I
Maybe
mentioned
I'm
Jamal
confused.
Murray. I said that about. I said them.
All right.
But I'm just saying, you came on national TV and said they wasn't receiving enough shine, even though they were the number one seed. I'm actually quoting you.
It's a fact.
Okay.
It's a fact.
Okay.
I just wanted to see if you would admit you're wrong, because that's all I wanted to see.
I don't recall it.
I said this in the first round. The Denver Nuggets, as of 2-3 games into the first round, were the most impressive team in the NBA playoffs. And I will stand by that. They've been the most impressive team in the NBA playoffs. But to answer the question, I think the Miami Heat run is a little more impressive just because of who they were in the regular season and how they got here.
Yes.
They're the third team ever to have a negative point differential in the regular season and then make the finals. You know, the last two teams to do that were the 1959 Lakers and the 1957 St. Louis Hawks.
Mm-hmm.
This is literally unprecedented that a team would do this in the modern NBA.
Mm-hmm.
And then you think about how they got here, right? Mm-hmm. They lose to Atlanta. They have a home game against the Chicago Bulls, and they're down with 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. They're 3 minutes away from being 2 months into their offseason right now. And now they're in the NBA Finals. They beat the Bucks. Giannis obviously hurt for 2.5 of those games, but they beat the Bucks 2 of those games. Games 4, an unbelievable Jimmy Butler performance, down 14 in the fourth quarter. Win Game 5 on the road. They beat the Knicks. Let's just say this. To get up 3-0 against these Boston Celtics is impressive. 2 of those games, double-digit comebacks in the second half. Game 3, they blew the doors off the Boston Celtics, and then it got even more competitive, and they responded after Game 6, losing at the buzzer, go on the road, win again Game 7 in Boston. Shocked is not the right word, because I'm not shocked because it's the Miami Heat and it's Eric Spoelstra and it's Jimmy Butler, but I'm shocked at where they were 6 weeks ago to where they are now.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.